and so on and so forth, were responsible for the problems that the political process was facing. So this laid the foundation for the need for a much more radical epistemology. But let me say two things quickly. One, that it was the humanities and the social sciences that put ABU in the map of global knowledge production in the 1970s, because and made ABU one of the only 4 universities in the third world that championed the rise and development of revolutionary scholarship for over 2 decades. How did that happen? It happened because, one, in Latin America, this same argument was prevalent. And at the time that it was very prevalent in the early part of the 20th century, the Russian Revolution had gone, socialism had become an alternative way of development. So after the Third International in around 1928, because of Lenin's work, his challenge to narrowness, the idea of understanding imperialism and capitalism, or understanding capitalism as an expression of imperialism became very significant. It was then realized in the Third International that it was not possible to displace capitalism without a revolutionary approach which is set global in the way that capitalism was imperialistic. This is just the way I can compress it. If you get the paper, more than 10 pages dealing with all of this, with all the text, massive number of text cited. But what happened therefore was Andre Gonga Frank, Paul Baran, Samir Amin, Walter Rodney raised the issue in Latin America about why the attempt to copy the European model was not working. And they came to the conclusion that it could not work because of dependency. So this was the opening of the dependency theory. They said imperialism, made the third world dependent, it suppressed their development, it blocked their appropriation of surplus, and so on and so forth. Now, this theory was replicated in 3 other universities. In the University of Nairobi, for the Kenyan debate, and in the University of Dar es Salaam, and then in Ahmadu Bello University and Obafemi Awolowo University. So these were the 4 universities that championed this. Now the Kenyan debate, as you know it, Colin Lins, Kapelanski, Issa Shivji, all right, many of them, Dana Budere, and so on. They all raised the argument of whether or not it was possible to have a national bourgeoisie in Kenya driven by agricultural capital. While Shivji and Co. examined the emergence of what was called egalitarian mode of development that Nyerere instituted under the Ujamaa. So this was what was called the Kenyan debate, and all of them argued that it was not possible for a national bourgeoisie to arise in Kenya because of the same conditions in Latin America, and the same in Tanzania, that egalitarian socialism, this socialism of the heart, of peasants. They said the peasant mode of production, which Marx called the Asiatic mode of production, could not develop industrialization and so on. So the result of this was the emergence of what was called revolutionary scholarship. Now what did this do? For ABU, for Nigerian universities, for third world universities, it produced a major epistemic change. What was the change? At inception, the university was established to do what? Produce trained manpower. All right? Trained manpower for the state enterprise economy. This radical epistemology changed the orientation of the university towards knowledge production for the transformation of society, knowledge production for revolutionary change. And the argument was that there were 3 things to fight. All right? Monopoly capitalism, neocolonialism, and national oppression. 3 elements combined that stood at the center of development of the African countries. Now, this could be found in many debates, many articles, many documents, and so on, which I have cited, and which I hope I am not going to spend my time on. But the result of this was the production of what was called the revolutionary scholarship, the epistemology that links society with ideology and politics, the attempt to make knowledge a vanguard, the emergence of what is called intellectual vanguardism, or the vanguardist movement, the emergence of very strong movements and organizations. All right? In student movements, we had National Union of Nigerian Students, NANS, NU, you know, it was Maradona, this very marvelous, clever man in Abuja, who introduced all the other tertiary institutions and changed it to NANS with an A. After my school, I think it was after my school. So we had NANS, we had the PYNN, Popular Youth Movement, Movement for Progressive Nigeria, Women in Nigeria, PYMN, Youth Solidarity of Southern Africa, Socialist Congress of Nigeria, and we had AFU, and many other associations, SATURAI at that time, before it became SANU and split into all the other unions that we today know. The idea is that this vanguardist scholarship, which the humanities were headed, had opened up a new debate about not just the relevance of curriculum, but the vital use of knowledge for transformation of society, and the insistence that knowledge production should not be done for the production of elites or students who join the elites only, but enlightened cadres who could help in the transformation of society. The assumption at that point was that it was possible to usher in radical transformation in Africa using this brand of epistemology. Unfortunately, it collapsed after terminal Marxism in 1989, when a new world order arose, structured and supported by the USA, Britain, and Japan. The new neoliberal world order emerged and instituted, supported by what is called the postmodern condition, or what is called postmodernity, the crisis we are dealing with now. This new world order came in, and it challenged the Reformation agenda. Now, this postmodern world is very, very important for us to understand. One, because it introduced, for example, this order has imposed in the last 25 years is hegemony through what? The infusion of hyper-development of technology, artificial intelligence, cyberspace into the system of protection to considerably dispense with human labor, the inauguration of consumer knowledge-based gig economy in which skilled persons can perform different jobs, the incorporation of territories worldwide into the private sector regulated profit-driven market system of exchange, and the transaction through globalization, the commodification of utilities, including education and services, and the centralization of money and banking in regulating international and trade relations under the dictate of the IMF and the World Bank and the Trade Organization. Now, the incorporationist ideology of this unipolar order, of course, is based on the notion of America's phantasmagoric achievement. America as a fabulous center of wealth, unfettered freedom, epitome of what is called the end of history. Now, the idea of the end of history, you know what it means? The argument was that the American neoliberal capitalist model and civilization was the highest that the human being could attain. And that human history and civilization had come to the end. That's what they call the end of history. Alright? Well, these issues were critiqued or criticized by Jean-François Reuter. Actually, Reuter was asked by the United Nations to investigate the collapse in education and so on. And Reuter produced a very profound report, which was too philosophically deep. And the United Nations asked him to review it and simplify it. He went and produced a more complicated one. They thanked him, and then they left him alone. But he produced that as the postmodern condition report of knowledge. And I'm going to quote his argument, which is central. And it is from this portion of want to concentrate because this is where our problem and challenges lie. Reuters said